K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, his heart don't pump no Kool-Aid Sadiq, on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, June 4th. And I just want to say this before we get started. Not only is it a beautiful day, but a beautiful person was born today. And that person is no other than El DeBarge.
Oh, I got 11 kids. I'm on drugs.
Well, watch your mouth, because I stab people
yes,
over El DeBarge.
That's right.
Okay?
That's your boy. I forgot.
So, if you're watching it, I know you do because you know I'm your biggest fan.
Wait a minute. Now it makes sense.
Stop it. I know you were going to say that.
Al and El DeBarge. Kind of a little.
And you know, people say that they resemble.
Yeah, resemble each other, except that Al's like what?
6'4".
5 foot taller than El.
So anyway, happy birthday. Anyway, what was I talking about? I'm just kidding. So this is the second edition of Don't Believe the Hype, where we ask you to go beneath the surface to find out if what you're being told and what you see is actually the truth, right? It doesn't take a lot to go research, sometimes 5 minutes or whatever. It depends on how deep you want to go. But make sure it's true. Just don't believe anything. And so that gives us a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about when they see us. We actually talked about this on Sunday on my show, but I want to talk about it from a different angle. So just to give you a little synopsis, When They See Us is a 4-part series that's airing on Netflix by Ava DuVernay that talks about the Central Park Five boys at the time in 1989, April of 1989. They were accused of raping a white woman in Central Park. They actually also called the case the Central Park Jogger case, where she was jogging at night and she was attacked. An overzealous DA, she was the head of the DA. I was saying she was in the detective department, but she's actually a DA. Linda Fairstein led the charge in falsely accusing these boys of rape. Just falsified and fabricated the whole thing. These boys had absolutely nothing to do with it at all. It turns out that they were all sentenced. They ended up doing 6 to 13 years for something, I'm going to keep reiterating, that something they didn't do. Off of their own testimonies that was coerced by the detectives that were getting this story together. Yeah. Coercion is by force, verbally and physically, and that's what happened to these boys. They were brutalized, some of them, if not all of them, into giving a testimony that wasn't true. If you guys will see even the raw testimony tapes, you can see that a lot of them were confused. Yep. And to take it a step further, these boys didn't even know each other. Right. Up until they met in the jail cell. Right.
And then one of the boys' father, I was doing my research after the show. That's how good the show was. I went immediately and looked at what was on YouTube I can find. One of the boys said that his father sold him out and told him, say what you need to say.
Antron's father is the one that sold him out. Yeah. So, his father, because what had happened was, and I don't want to give it away, but he sold him out. He made him, he said, tell them what they need to hear.
So we can go home.
So we can get home. And so the basis of them, well, part of it, them giving their testimony, the false testimonies, because they were told they were going to go home. All you got to do is tell them we will need to hear,
you can go home.
and you'll go home. And these are babies. Right. 14, 15, and 16. They're babies, and they want to just go home.
Right. And remember, police officers can lie to a certain point to get what they need. So, because all my white friends keep saying, well, they confess, it's on tape. But hey, there's more to it.
You can't interrogate a child without their parents' consent. A lot of that was done without their consent. It was some trickery and stuff involved. So it wasn't just a cut and dry type of thing. It was a bunch of just nonsense and evilness put into getting a conviction of these boys. Okay, so as I said, this documentary, 4-part series documentary, they're all over an hour or so long. I think the last one's about 1 hour and 20 minutes. A lot of people that I've talked to about this, in fact, a good friend of mine, we go walking a couple times a week. She says a white coworker came to work and told her about it, and a white coworker can only watch 1 episode. Wow. And so she said she was freaked out, and that her and her daughters weren't going to watch it at all because they're scared to watch, just by some of the stuff she's heard. And I've seen probably a majority of my friends on my Facebook page said they could not get past the first episode, and some don't want to watch it all because it's hard to watch. They're scared. Just some of them don't want to get to the point of being enraged. So a lot of people just won't watch the series. And I don't think that's what was Ava's, and I'm probably saying her name wrong, Ava. I have this thing with my A's, so I'll continue to call her Ava, but I don't think that was her intent for people to be so scared, if you will, afraid, to where they wouldn't watch. And so that's what I want to talk about. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was hard to watch. Me and my daughter and I, we watched the entire thing on Saturday. We had to take some breaks.
Right.
Because it was just, like, you ever watch something that was so dark?
Yeah.
To where it just left you mentally and emotionally, and drained and in a funk. So we had to take a break and maybe talk about it a little bit. We went on Twitter or whatever, Google, and just try to find some, other stuff to kind of give us more information. But it is hard to watch. And I've seen a lot of people say this. They liken it to a horror story.
Yeah, what else?
It is a horror story.
How else could you describe it?
But unfortunately, like for horror stories, for horror stories, 9 times out of 10, it's fiction. It's not real. But this particular horror story, if you will, it's true. It's nonfiction. It's facts. And so the fact that we are so afraid to watch it speaks volumes. Also, this is like, so we're afraid to watch it. How do you think these boys felt living that? And Ava said that, especially in regards to Corey, said she only told 70% of the things that happened to him. She didn't tell the whole story because, just...
Well, it's a documentary. You got to, time and
but
stuff.
she dedicated the majority of the 4th episode to him. It was about telling his story and all the things he went through. And so a lot of people haven't even gotten to the 4th episode, and many not even to the 2nd episode because they said they just couldn't do it. It was just so disturbing. And the 1st episode mainly dealt with how they being the devils, the detectives and the DA, how they acquired the story and made the story. Because it allows you to get a glimpse into the boys before, not much, but a little bit before they got corralled into the nightmare.
Right.
And as a lot of people said too, it allowed people to see that these boys were human. And I saw an interview today that Ava did with Good Morning America, something like that. And Robin Roberts said that when she interviewed or had a chance to talk to the boys, she actually had to go apologize to them because she was one of the people who believed everything the media and the police said. And I'm like, I have my issues with Robin Roberts because she's kind of on that butter biscuit train too. And so when I heard her say that, I'm like, no kidding. Of course she did, But she's an African American woman. There's a lot of people of all colors who believed everything that was told about those boys. And so when you watch this story, you see them as human because they weren't portrayed as human. And so I think a lot of people are having a hard time watching it because it's like, so now we've gotten a human feel for who these boys were, opposed to the one that the media depicted them as monsters, thugs, animals, because those are the names and stuff that they call them. So now you see that these boys are actually human beings. It is scary to think that somebody, especially kids, because not saying it's right, but you hear men, grown men, getting charged and stuff for something they didn't do, and you think, well, maybe they're a little bit better equipped to handle that.
Sure.
But here are boys, young boys, who are going through a real life nightmare, and the way Ava put it together. These are actors, obviously, but you didn't get the feel that you're just watching somebody act. You got the feel that this was them.
Right.
And she said she purposely wanted that to be the case. She told the actors, she says, I want you guys, she said she had them study the characters before they actually met. She says, because what you're going to be doing is giving a real life depiction of these boys that weren't given originally. So what you guys are about to do is actually going to show everybody else the human side of the boys that no one else got to see, because when we got to see them back in 1989, it was them being rushed out with all these, you know, lights and detectives and stuff.
Right, and handcuffs.
And then seeing them at the trial, and then their mug shots. You never got to, you know, hear, and even in the story too, they talked about how they, you know, were playing the trumpet or whatever it was, and they played baseball, and they had things they were doing. They weren't just, you know, dudes hanging out, you know, and doing nothing.
And notice one thing that a lot of people have, they kind of skip over, because, you know, we're in the modern day now. These boys had their parents.
They had their parents, which is true.
Yeah.
And another thing too, Corey's character, I don't think a lot of people talked about, but he couldn't read well. For whatever reason, he couldn't read well. And in the time, some research that I did too, I think it's the prior documentary that you saw as well, that he had a hearing problem.
Yes, right.
He had a hearing, he lost some of his hearing, or he was hearing impaired to some degree when he was a lot younger. So that probably had a lot to do with it. But just knowing the fact that he couldn't read, because on the documentary, when they see us, the prosecution, what's her name, Elizabeth Federer, she tried to have him read a statement or something, and he kind of went off because he's like, I can't read. Well, you try. So that also speaks to the point, because his mom didn't even know where he was for like a day or so. So by that time, they had already interrogated him, all that.
And got what they needed.
So the point that I'm making, because he was 16, but he's 16, don't know a whole lot of anything, especially in regards to the legal system, and he can't read. So all of that in and of itself is problematic, but I guarantee you, a lot of that didn't get out. A lot of that didn't get out to actually bring a human effect to these boys. And so I understand why people are afraid to watch, because now, as I said, I'm going to keep repeating it, people are actually seeing them as people, as humans. And so it's like, gosh, you have to come to terms in your mind, this really happened to somebody's child. And this really happened.
And what's really scary is it could happen to anybody, especially in our community.
It has happened, and it continues to happen, you know. And another thing, too, is I think people really need to watch, because we need to be reminded of, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, of who we are dealing with, you know. Also, I'm sure this wasn't Linda Fair, whatever her last name is, it slips my mind. Wasn't her first trial.
Right.
How many other black boys and, you know, Hispanic boys did she railroad that didn't get all this notoriety? How many other boys, men, whoever, were and are sitting in prison behind her trumping up stuff about people just to make a name for herself? So we need to watch to be reminded of these things. Okay. You know, also we need to watch, because I would put a lot, she took 4 years to make this documentary.
Right.
4 years, and she said she wanted to make sure it was done right.
When I did some research on there, and they were talking to some of the prosecutors, some of the detectives that were on the show. Now, after these boys got exonerated, and I'm kind of going away from what you were saying, but you know, it's important to think about these people's mindset. The DA said, okay, because there was no DNA evidence linking him to the rape, right?
Right.
Now the state that exonerated him and stuff, they had done the report and said that these boys, you know, everything was wrong. That the prosecution was wrong, the evidence was wrong, whatever the deal is. Do you know, even until this very day, maybe a couple years ago, some of the prosecutors and the person that was in the head of the crime task force, there was another female that was the head of that.
Yeah.
She said that to release those kids, they should have at least kept them in for the assault. They had admitted to the assault.
She's a bitch. I hate to say it, but she is.
But think of, you know, devil. But think about it. Yeah. That's saying you could be putting these guys on death row for, you're saying that they did all this stuff.
Well, they weren't on death row, but Trump was calling for death penalty.
Right,
yeah.
You know,
and then nobody died.
Right, and these are children, and you're doing all this to them. They've been exonerated by the state. The state saying, no, everything was wrong in this prosecution. The real guy finally admitted, you know, what it is. And the only reason the guy that actually did the sexual assault admitted everything is because he ran into one of the boys and was saying, and it has hit him. It was like, you're still here?
Well, he said too, that, because they met twice.
Yeah, they met twice.
But he said the second time he got a chance to look into his eyes.
Yeah.
And he said he realized the pain of what he did and caused innocent people. And so then he knew he had to go out and free not only himself, but go free them.
Right, but it was just the shock that, the kid was still there. The guy was still there.
Well,
and he was like,
you brutally raped a woman. What did you think they was going to be? I mean, did you think they was getting out overnight?
Right.
You know?
But here it is, the government is saying, the Justice Department said this is wrong, everything was wrong. This lady, until this very day, even some of the detectives are saying, well, there still was an assault. You should have kept him in there.
Yeah.
What about the assault?
But Linda Fairstein, that's her name. She's trying to say that Matias Reyes, the guy who admitted to it, is actually the sixth man. He's just the sixth man that was involved with them.
But they don't know each other. None of these kids know each other.
That's her saying, I don't give a F.
Right.
I'm never going to admit that I was wrong. Not even that. You know what? Because she wasn't even wrong. She lied.
Right.
Because she knew, because it's not even, I guess what I'm saying, she was wrong, but it wasn't an issue of her being wrong. It was an issue of her lying and taking her ass home every night, knowing what she did to those boys and going to sleep. That's where the real horror story is. That is not only just her, but imagine how many other, hell, we live in Riverside. I'm going to tell y'all this story. And this is probably why, because my nephew came in when me and my daughter were watching it, and he goes, no, I don't want to watch it because I know it's going to piss me off. He said, and I've already seen some stuff today on, social media that's pissed me off, and I don't need to be pissed off anymore. Now, this particular nephew was just exonerated himself. Him and two other of his friends were falsely accused by a white man of assaulting him. But when the jury, thank God, right? When the jury came back, they said that it should have been the other way around. He should have been the one on trial and not them. But they had the same case. The DA in their case was just like that lady. Was just like the lady we saw. She kept on making up stuff. And she was like, well, when I was, their age, I wasn't doing those type of... It's like, you a white woman. First of all, you would never have the same experience as a black man. Or, like they say, to me, he's a boy.
Yeah, boy.
A black boy. But yet, she was so hell-bent on sending my nephew and his friends up the river to where she was blind theory. Blind theory.
But I think that, it really is a problem with these prosecutors that are trying to make a name for themselves. And they don't care at what expense, what the thing says. A good example, Kamala Harris.
Black life
means nothing.
To them. It's something we do.
Right.
Hell, think of something that you've done that's not even half as bad, and you had let's say you got an argument with somebody, or maybe you said something that was unkind to somebody, and it bothered you.
Yeah.
You maybe lost a little sleep, or you fought with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever. Maybe it's a little too mean to your kids, and you had a hard time sleeping. So, but this lady sent these kids to prison and went off and lived a great life up until recently, was living a great life, and thought nothing of it.
Right. And,
crazy.
And what kills me is, and this is why we got to go out there and decide for yourself. Don't just listen to the 6 media outlets that are controlled by these families. I mean, the Mayor Koch,
Koch, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on the video, if you see video from Demetra K show on Sunday, we put the video up, go to YouTube channel, check it out. It's there. It's an awesome video. I mean, the video, we got some clips in there. You guys check it out. When the mayor is piling on and the media is just what happened to journalistic integrity?
And that's what one of the journalists said in the Ken Barnes documentary. He said, the DA, the detectives, and he said, us as journalists.
Right.
He said, because he also said, I believed it too. He said, we, especially as journalists, didn't do our job in trying to connect the dots.
Right. The fourth estate is supposed to do those things and say, regardless of where the facts lead you, if the facts lead that these kids had nothing to do with it.
He said we all failed them. Everybody, even a juror. There was a juror on there, juror number 5 is what they called him. He said he did try. He did try to sway everybody. He said, but they weren't having it.
Right. I mean, when these editors of these newspapers at that time were putting up these, big headlines. Trump does this. There's no way. If I was an editor and let's say a rich man comes to me and says, hey, I'm going to put out this ad that's going to taint the jury pool, I was just like, no, thing is.
But let me say this too, because I think this is important. Trump is a douchebag. And I'll say that until forever.
Satan's pawn.
A douchebag.
Satan's pawn. Mm-hmm.
Trump is just good at, and you think about it, not even lying. Mm-hmm. Think about what he did in 1989 and compare what he did he's doing in 2019, almost 30 years later. What is he doing? Trump is ginning up the mob.
Yeah.
All right, stop right there. Let's talk about the mob. What is in the mentality of the mob to where he's from 30 years?
Well, remember
30 year span, Trump has been ginning up the mob, and the mob has been going along with it. Looking like in 2019, the mob, we've seen countless episodes of people just getting froggy, doing stuff and saying stuff to people in the name of Trump. Right. He's been pulling people's strings that we know of for 30 years. Absolutely. So what's wrong with the people in the mob?
True. But what did Trump always say? He said this in 2016 when he ran for office. He goes, I love the uneducated. Didn't he say that? Something like that?
Part of my thesis, was that rhetoric and propaganda works on the uneducated. Because that's why we have a saying like, don't believe the hype. That's why things like memes that are ridiculous to the educated mind, but they're not ridiculous. Yeah, but it's not ridiculous to the person who just, well, if they said it, it must be true. Which is what happened in the case of the Central Park 5. A lot of people said, well, because they told me,
or
it got to be
true.
Or
a good example of the Mueller report. Nobody wants to read it. I read it. And if you read it, you would be like, yeah, there's something wrong here. This guy's obstructing justice.
Which is why people who haven't read it, I'm one of those, I'm trying to go do me. I mean, I don't have time to read 500 pages.
Just listen to what I tell you.
But that's the problem, though, and I'm part of it in regards to that. It's because we won't read it. Probably 90% of people didn't read the shit. Okay?
Exactly. If you read it, you would be.
So we get caught in the middle of, let's say, Republicans and Democrats. Oh, well, that's not what it said. I got it from this. It said this and that. Oh, no, it did say this and that. And so we're like, we're on a teeter-totter. Okay, what did it say?
Yeah, and isn't it funny? Like, Barr came out and said one thing. He said, oh, yeah, pure exoneration. And now Mueller comes out and says, no, I never said that. See what I'm saying? That's why.
Who's telling the truth?
Right. Don't believe the hype.
Right. Go find out for yourself. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to read it.
Right.
I'm just not.
Right, but
Because there's a lot of other stuff I would rather be reading. At the end of the day, me reading that, I have no control, no power over reading that.
And that's what Trump knows. Most Americans do not read.
I can't impeach Trump.
Right.
All the people who claim they read it, up at the top, Congress and stuff, they have the power to get it started.
Yeah, most of the congressmen, even them Democrats, have not read the Mueller report.
But that's who should be reading it, because they can do something. Me reading it is not going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems in Congress. They put these bills up, and they start voting on them, and they never read the bill.
Right.
They don't read. Americans do not read.
So, back to Mr. Trump. In 1989, when he was putting out he spent $85,000 on these ads, or whatever the case was, however much it was. He spent all this money on his ads to demonize these boys, which he had no knowledge of. He, just talked. He got his talking points from what was coming out
of the news media.
This narrative that they kept painting of these monsters and these animals.
And he didn't like niggas anyway, so.
Right. Well,
Remember, he's a racist
and then
landlord.
In the documentary, they showed a footage of him saying a black. That's how he was referring to black people, a black. And then
remember, he was a slumlord.
Yusuf's mom was like, "What the hell is a black?" And this was like Alma didn't take. She didn't have an actor to play Donald Trump. She had his actual footage and videos of him saying these things. And so we need to watch it, as painful as it is. Yes, it is hard to watch, but we need to watch it so we can be reminded, not just be reminded, but take action. You guys know that district attorneys in a lot of cases are elected.
Judges are elected. Judges are elected.
So I don't know if Linda Feinstein was elected, I don't know. But in a lot of cases, I know in our county, they're elected.
And in some cases, they're political appointees.
Right. So if these people, see, even if they're appointed, if the people that are appointing them knew that they were going to be held accountable for appointing people who are racist and who are harming the very lives of innocent people, they would think twice. Yeah. So not watching something like this is, I hate to say it, I'm not telling you what to do as far as, because to me this is not even entertainment. This is a need to watch thing. But by you not watching it, you help hide the shame and the dirt that woman and all of her cohorts did to these boys. You not watching it helps them keep what they did a secret, because yeah, there's a lot of documentaries out about it, but what Ava did was paint this picture. She put flesh and bones on what the media called monsters. Exactly. She brought them to life. And so it's funny how everybody kind of saw the documentaries before. They weren't upset. They weren't. Right. But when they saw this documentary, I'm telling you how much effect that has had. It has ran Linda Fairstein, the head, the liar in chief, I'll call her, ran her off of social media. Yes. Her Twitter shut down. Her Instagram is shut down. Now, all these institutions that's giving her all these awards, they're saying they have either started taking the awards and they're saying we're going to look into it. And the people have put pressure on these institutions to say, how dare you? How dare you award this woman? And you knew what she was doing. Why do you wait for a documentary to come out and everybody get mad? You guys knew who you were getting.
Because once they get exposed, that's what roaches do. When the light comes on, they scramble.
And then, my daughter was reading something that Charlemagne the God said in regards to the lady. He said, I already know what she's going to say. She said she's probably going to try to sue and say, oh my gosh, they're slandering me. And, I'm the victim here.
Remember, it's not slander if it's true.
Right. But, and that's what he says. He basically, I'm paraphrasing, but just be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for her, to say playing that, I did nothing wrong. You guys are ruining my life. And it's like, should.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like, some of these people were saying, well, they still should have held them in jail. Okay, most of those boys did it, 7 and 9 years?
They were sentenced from 5 to 15. So Corey got the longest, 5 to 15, and the rest got like 5 to 6. So they still, not 5 to 6, 5 to 10. So they still did more than the minimum.
Right, and as adults. I think all but one.
They got out because they went in when they were 14 and 15.
Right,
and Corey,
I think one immediately went as an adult, even though he was a minor. He
Corey,
was charged as an adult.
The one that was 16, the one that the 4th episode highlights the most because he went through the most stuff. Just think about what happens to 16-year-old boys that go to an adult prison, as such as Rikers Island. Right. You wouldn't want to be Jesus going in there.
Yeah, and it's kind of bad too, because think about it this way. Okay, number one, my co-defendants, I don't even know these guys. I don't even know them. Now you're sending me to this adult prison where nobody knows me. I don't know anything about this.
And none of those boys had criminal records.
Right.
So they've never had any experience with going to jail or any of that kind of stuff. So you take them from living their very lives into what do they call it? Like the concrete jungle.
Yeah, exactly.
Or wherever you call it prison, just hell, if you will. They sent these boys there who are not even, nobody's equipped to experience prison, but you talk about boys who are really not experienced, are equipped to experience prison. And so we need to watch it because we need to see what she did to them. This is not something they did. It was something that was done to them.
And this devil has no remorse.
At all. She's mad. And I hate to say there's no shade to white women, no shade, but I'm going to go ahead and say
nothing new.
It's typical.
Yep, nothing new.
Even like when Carolyn Bryant, the devil, that accused Emmett Till of whistling at her and cost him his very life. When because somebody wrote a book about it, but when she's telling the story, it's more like, well, I should have said something, but I didn't. Yeah.
And you got to remember, when Emmett Till got killed, it wasn't, Emmett Till got killed in it specifically, but think of people that were attached to that case or that got killed. The black people that might have been protesting or whatever. It's a cascading effect. It isn't just one situation.
But she's got the ultimate shoulder shrug.
Oops.
Yeah, I lied, but, those are just times where, so I hate to say it, it's just typical.
Now, let me ask you this real quick. You've taken law. If I called the police and I put in a false report, isn't that not a crime?
Okay, well,
A misdemeanor.
Let's just look at it this way. Jussie Smollett
Okay.
lied on some people, said he was attacked. All the heavy metal and all the heavy brass and big wigs in Chicago wants him to pay. They want Kim Fox, who was the head prosecutor, to resign because she's hiding some stuff. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong.
Yeah, that's what they typically do. But go ahead.
Right. However, you got the same scenario with Linda Fairstein, what she did to the Central Park Five. And where's all the hoopla over that?
Kamala Harris. Evidence shows that this man is innocent, sitting right here in the state of California.
Where's the hoopla?
She didn't want to deal with the evidence.
I believe,
keep him in there.
Yeah, I really believe
that's the way the system is.
What Linda Fairstein did to them is beyond criminal. It's beyond
Ruined their lives.
criminal. And here she is. She's worked, they say, about $4 million, had this lucrative writing career, write these crime novels, and she's, of all things, she writes children's books.
No, we gotta remember, white children.
She writes children's books. What are they, horror novels? Look at the things you did to children. See, I don't like calling people names, but when I was watching this, that lady was everything but the child of God.
See, and that's why I don't understand. Black, white, Asian, Arabic, what African, whatever. Our humanity is when it comes to children.
Again,
we should just say,
I'm gonna tell
no
y'all
color.
this. I'm gonna tell y'all
That's
this.
a child.
And you guys are watching, listening, already know this. And I have to tell my little brother this because he's got kids. He's got a son, and he said, like once a week, he was getting a call from the principal, who was a white woman. Oh, your son is doing this. Your son is doing that. Your son is doing this. And your son. And so he said he had to stop her one day cold in her tracks. He says, what you're going to do is you're going to force me to have a conversation with my son, who was 6 at the time. You're going to force me to have a conversation with my son earlier in life than I wanted to have with him. And she said, well, what is that? He said, I need to tell him that be very cautious with his relationship with white women. Because he says, as a white woman, you are innately, without even thinking about what you're doing, calling me every week to demonize my son for doing stuff 6-year-olds do that I know for a fact his other 6-year-old classmates who are white are doing, and I know you don't call their parents. And so he said from that point, the call stopped cold in their tracks because he let her know what you're not going to do is demonize my black son because you have white superiority complex. And so what I'm saying to you guys is this white woman, Linda Fairstein, didn't see those boys as humans. She saw them as somebody who was beneath her, somebody who I could very easily push off into the Hudson River and drown, and I can walk back and go eat some french fries and can talk to my good girlfriends and not bat an eye at what I'm doing because I don't see them as humans. I don't see them as human as I would a white boy.
And I could be fast-tracked in my career.
Because I guarantee you, somebody made a good point, had this been some white boys, it wouldn't have gotten what it's getting now. I mean, hell, we see and hear about white boys doing shit all the time.
All the
and they get
time. Don't do that no more.
Or he's too
rich.
Prison would ruin his life.
Ruin his life.
You mean even after he raped the baby?
Yep.
He doesn't get the...
Yeah, isn't that the point of prison, to punish?
I just don't want him to live a life of having to, we need him to have a second. Really?
Really? What about the Asian kid or the Hispanic kid and the black kid?
So I always caution this. Even not just your boys, but your daughters too. Be careful around with your black sons around white women, especially white teachers, because those white women spend a good amount of time with your child, especially if they're in elementary. They're in class 6 hours or so with their child. I don't know if it's a subconscious thing with these white teachers. Whatever it is, it causes them to put their thumb on your child.
Well, remember I told you about my son? I had to take the red eye I got a call from his white teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take the red eye all the way to Virginia to come down on my son because she told me a different narrative that actually happened, and I had to put her in check.
Yep. So you got to be very careful. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, especially us as black people. We have some black schools, but we don't have the amount that we need so where we can totally escape that system. So you think about it, you're leaving your black sons, let's talk about black boys, okay? You're leaving your black sons in the care of these white women all day long. And all day long, somewhere, maybe not so subconsciously, sometimes it's just overt, they are reminding your black sons that you were never ever going to be anything, and I'm going to make sure that you know that by the time you leave my care, quote unquote, I'm going to make sure you never feel good about yourself as a little black boy, which is not her job to do, especially if you have the parent at home that's not so awake.
Right.
That child grows up with this stigma, and so they continue to go through life getting in contact with these type of women.
And these teachers actually do this. They go out of their way to make sure that the child knows that they are different than the rest of the child.
Be very careful. Be very careful. So the point that I was even making that to try to make with that is that's how this white woman, Linda Fairstein, could do what she did to those black boys. She didn't see them. I mean, just the name she was calling them throughout the whole documentary, monsters and animals. She made it a point to call them animals. These animals rape this woman.
And the big highlight in the media at that time, which was newspapers, everything that came out of this woman's mouth was highlighted in the local newspapers.
And Ava also made it a point to say, which is true, that nearly 90% of the articles that were written about these boys, the word alleged was never used.
Never used, exactly.
It was always written as fact. Head on as factual.
And then you got dullards like Donald Trump who believe everything that they want to believe.
Well, see, Donald Trump is racist.
Yeah, of course.
And so this is gonna sound real effed up, you guys, but to people like Donald Trump, it almost gives them a heart.
It does. It does.
It just makes them just woo, yeah. And then he feeds that red meat to his base.
Exactly.
He feeds that to everybody else.
You see, but what I hate about
not to cut you off, but it reaffirms to them, yeah, niggas ain't shit.
Right.
They are evil, monster rapists, are women.
See, but the funny thing is, and I remember I've been like this ever since I was younger. These rich people, like Donald Trump, he talks all tough and he's all this and yeah, I'm just that. If you so goddamn tough, why are you so afraid to go to jail? He spent all the money, all the lawyers to stay out of the jail. These people are nothing but cowards.
There's you guys have heard of the convict leasing program that took place during the Jim Crow era, where since slavery was over, we need to find a way to get these Negroes that are free back into a labor type of deal. So they made these vagrancy laws, loitering, all this other stuff. And sharecropping, putting people in a lot of debt, and then in turn they ended up getting sentenced to prison. So the guy, I can't remember his name, so some white dude anyway. That's all you guys need to know. He comes up with the convict leasing program because he had this business, and he was like, "Well, shit, I'll lease the convicts from you guys. They come work for me." Which it was said that the labor and abuses that these convicts that were endured was worse than slavery and what they were going through in prison. So anyway, under his watch, I think he had a railroad business or something. Under his watch, many convicts, that's what they call them, died due to, they said, mainly starvation and being overworked.
Right, and also in the jobs that they were doing, a lot of them were maimed and lost limbs.
Right, so these men they faced a lot of horrors, right? So then they found out, see, like, he didn't get in trouble, the white dude. He didn't get in trouble for what he was doing to black people. He got in trouble for some fraud, some financial fraud.
Yeah, mail fraud or something.
No, it wasn't mail fraud. It was something to do with cheating business or something. So, guess what happens? He gets sentenced to prison. You know what he did?
Killed himself.
He killed himself.
Wow.
Because he didn't want to go experience what he had did to those people. So to your point about Donald Trump not wanting to go to prison, he ain't trying to go to prison and experience some of the stuff that he would ever have to. I'm sure he can go to Club Fed, but he ain't trying to go to prison and experience some of the stuff that he advocated for other people.
Right, roughing the guys up. Yeah, he's telling all the officers to do stuff that he only wishes he can do.
Right. Yeah, right. So he's walking tall and talking tough, but now hell no, I ain't trying to get. I'm surprised the man even eats at McDonald's.
Right.
I'm shocked.
Right.
You know, because you could tell he's so detached.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but it's a different reality. Totally different.
In 1989 and 90, when he was doing all of this to the Central Park Five, it totally came from a standpoint of elitism.
Mm-hmm.
Those niggers down there.
And you know what's so funny about that? During that time, the man was broke. He had lost almost $500 million up until that point.
$85,000 to take out ads to get the death penalty for some kids.
There was a thing I was watching on YouTube, and they were saying how the system is rigged. So, okay, you're born into wealth, right? You can lose $1 billion. The bank, it's rigged so this keeps giving them money. Whereas like me and you, even though we haven't gone bankrupt, we haven't done this.
Listen, I'm trying to buy a Honda.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to give us this big, long interest rate and all this other stuff. But because of his father and his name, even though he's lost all this money and he's a high risk, the system is rigged to keep giving these people money no matter what. That's why, like, the Ford Corporation, that corporation will never go under because it's an American icon company.
Right, on the name alone.
On the name alone.
Right.
And so they're going to bail Ford out any chance they get.
Right.
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
It's amazing.
So they're on a different...
well, yeah, I mean, but that's really
crazy.
That Donald, see, when we hear the term white supremacy, we think about old dude up the street. He think he's better than black people.
Or the old Klanmen.
But white supremacy is really a Donald Trump, in where he has true power. Look at the how he was able to affect public opinion about these boys just on the strength of words alone. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is the modern day Hitler.
Exactly.
Because that's what Hitler did.
He
put all this propaganda out about a certain group of people.
No, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one because that would be giving Donald Trump too much credit, and Hitler was way. What I'm saying by that, I think Donald Trump is like you always say, a modern day demon.
He's a demon, but he did what he did is along the lines of Hitler, and the things that he did. Hitler was only successful off of rhetoric affecting uneducated people, and that's what Donald Trump does. Right. He uses a lot of rhetoric. I mean, hell, look what he said. Meghan Markle, I don't follow her a lot, but she's married to Prince somebody over there.
Prince Harry. Mm-hmm.
He called her nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't want to go eat with him.
Right. And I hate this when they say he's a marketing genius. No, he's a lying genius. He's a liar. He is not a marketing genius. That's why he doesn't want to show you his grades. He doesn't want to show you because you can have all Fs. There's one thing about my mom used to beat my ass. I can get all Fs in every subject except the one subject I was good at, which was history.
Right.
That was unacceptable.
But yeah, so, he's calling people names, and there's a lot of people who have now, Meghan Markle has been under a lot of racism and stuff since she married, Prince Harry was a white man.
And her being a black woman, right?
Yeah. But he knows he won't face it. Hell, that the rest of them went A with her husband didn't go. Everybody else went A with him.
Right.
He knows he's not going to face any backlash for just saying and everything.
Yeah, and it's so sad. You got Queen Elizabeth there. I would not.
That would have been it for me if I was Queen Elizabeth.
I would have been like, no, he can't come here.
If I was looking for a way out, that would have been it. That is my granddaughter-in-law, whoever she is.
But even to show that you have morals.
Right. Nah, they all fine dining with it.
That's almost like if a Klanman came knocking on your door. Hey, mind if I come in? I don't even let police come on my property.
Right.
They might knock on the door, and if it ain't something that has to do with me, I'll tell them, get off my property.
Right.
Period. Because I don't want to be associated with them whatsoever. But, when they accept him and bring him in, that lets me know, like you said, white supremacy, it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and Donald Trump and people like that are the epitome of white supremacy. That is true white supremacy right there.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. But you guys, please check out the documentary. It is a must.
See us on Netflix, please. Go slow if you need to.
Yeah, go slow. If you got to take a break in between episodes.
You need to watch a cartoon or whatever in between, play some good, happy music, but please watch it.
Right, because like I said, this ain't no isolated incident. This kind of stuff is happening every
As I said earlier on Facebook, it's hard. It's hard to watch, but it's a must watch.
It's a must watch. Hey, you guys, do not forget to tune in to Dimitri K Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I can't say specific. Pacific Standard Time.
No.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Pacific Standard Time. She's talking about The Real. And please check out Demetra K Show on YouTube. Look up Demetra K. You'll pop up, and all the videos, all her stuff is there. Look forward to you guys next week. Don't believe the hype. Go see it. It is a must.
Peace.
Peace.
This morning, best-selling crime writer and former New York City prosecutor Linda Fairstein finds herself on trial in the court of public opinion. Her most famous case, the Central Park jogger trial, is now being retold on Netflix.
I didn't see any lady. Kevin. I didn't see any lady.
When They See Us dramatizes the story of 5 Black and Latino teenagers, known as the Central Park Five. The young men were wrongfully convicted and imprisoned for raping a white female jogger back in 1989. The story dividing a city. Decades before taking office, real estate developer Donald Trump spent $85,000 on ads in local papers, proclaiming, "Bring back the death penalty." Now, embattled actress Felicity Huffman is playing Fairstein, who oversaw the interrogation of the 5 teens and prosecution for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Fairstein was part of the sex crimes unit, but did not personally try the case.
Our case is they're all guilty.
You tell us exactly what happened.
The men later accused detectives of coercing confessions from them, which Fairstein has long denied. When a serial rapist admitted to the crime in 2002 and his DNA was a match, the 5 men had their convictions vacated after serving more than a decade behind bars. Lester recently sat down with the exonerated men.
But I kept telling the truth for a long time. I started lying because of my father. He told me to tell them what they want to hear. We didn't get an apology, you know. All the time we did for something we didn't do, and it hurts.
Fairstein, now a famous author, is facing backlash on social media with the trending hashtag #CancelLindaFairstein and growing calls to boycott her crime novels. In response, Fairstein has deleted her Twitter account and resigned from the board of trustees at Vassar College, her alma mater. In an interview with the Daily Beast, the director of the Netflix series, Ava DuVernay, alleges that Fairstein attempted to control how she was presented, saying she tried to negotiate conditions for her to speak with me, including approvals over the script, adding, "So you know what my answer was to that, and we didn't talk." Fairstein denies that took place and declined to speak directly with NBC News, but we received this statement from her attorney that reads in part, "Netflix and Ms. DuVernay are doing a terrible disservice to the public and should be ashamed by their irresponsibility in failing to properly research the film and effectively compromising its accuracy." The attorney goes on to quote current Manhattan DA Cyrus Vance, who issued a statement after the 5 men settled a civil case with the city of New York in 2014 for $41 million. After more than a decade in which numerous parties have investigated and litigated the case, there has been no finding of wrongdoing or unprofessional behavior by any of the prosecutors involved.